Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be looking over the sixth lesson in our first math booklet. That is place value and rounding with money continued. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about estimating and how it can help us, and we'll even dip a little bit into calculating change. Now today you're going to need the lesson as well as the worksheet, which comes after in your booklet. And since we're dealing with coins, you might also want this reference page in the back of your binder with all the different kinds of coins and what they represent. Let's jump in. So this is going to be a continuation of the previous lesson, developing our ability to use rounding alongside money to become an effective consumer. Example 1 talks about Melissa, who puts the following items into her basket: canned peaches, frozen dinner, bag of oranges, broccoli, juice boxes, and apple juice. We want to know roughly how much this is going to cost Melissa. And since we're perhaps standing in the middle of an aisle and we don't want to spend 5 or 10 minutes adding these numbers together, we're going to round them to the nearest dollar to make our lives a little bit easier. Please remember that rounding to the nearest dollar means that we are rounding the first number before the decimal. So since canned peaches cost $1.97, we're going to be rounding the 1, which means that we look to the 9 to help us decide how to round. The 9 tells us to round up. So this 1 is going to change to a 2, and everything after that 2 is going to become 0. But again, you can choose to remove those zeros, which is what I'm going to do today. Frozen dinner costs $3.97. If I'm rounding to the nearest dollar, I'm rounding this 3, and the 9 tells me to round up, so the 3 goes up to a 4. The frozen dinner is about $4. A bag of oranges costs $2.39. We're rounding the 2, and the number after the 3 tells us to round down because 3 is smaller than 5. So the 2 gets rounded down, which means that it stays the same. A bag of oranges is about $2. Broccoli costs $0.79. We're rounding the 0, which is allowed. We still look at the number after, which is 7, and that tells the 0 to round up. So the 0 goes up to 1. Everything after becomes 0, but we're going to leave that out. Juice boxes cost $1.19. We're rounding that first 1 to the left of the decimal, and we use the 1 after it to tell us how to round. That 1 tells us to round down, so it stays the same, just $1. Finally, apple juice. We're rounding 2. The 9 tells us to round up because it's greater than 5, so that 2 is going to go up to 3. That is $3. Perfect. Continuing this example, it says, Melissa discovers that she only has $14. Based on her rounding, will she have enough money for all the items in her basket? Well, using our rounded numbers, let's add them up in our heads and see how much money roughly this will cost Melissa. So starting at 2, 2 plus 4 is 6. Add another 2, and we go from 6 to 8. Add 1, and we go from 8 to 9. Add 1, and we go from 9 to 10. Add 3, and we go from 10 to $13. So this will cost roughly $13. So I'm willing to say yes. Melissa has approximately, because we are rounding, so it's not exact, $13 in her basket. Right? Now, example 2, you have the following coins in your pocket. Now, this time we're not just going to add them up. We're doing something a little bit different. Complete the table below for each of the 3 purchases. So, a carton of juice costs $1.45 using only the coins that we have above. We need to pay for this. Right? So we need to give the cashier enough money and then calculate the change that the cashier needs to give us back. Because if we give the cashier more money than it costs, they owe us a little bit back. Now, I don't want to dive too deep into how to calculate change yet. We are going to have another lesson or two on that later, but these should be pretty straightforward. So we need $1.45 in order to pay for a carton of juice. In order to pay for that, you should start by finding the largest coin that you can use. For example, if I was going to ask you to use a toonie, you could say yes, and you could give them a toonie, but maybe we can use some smaller coins so that we don't have to get as much change back, because a toonie is more than what we need. Let me show you what I mean. If instead I decide to use a single loonie, that would be $1. Not enough to pay for the carton of juice, but pretty close. I need $1.45. So I should use the rest of the coins in order to try and make 45 cents. Sure, I will use the quarter next. A quarter is 25 cents. Oops. A quarter is 25 cents. So let's highlight what we've used so far. We've used one loonie, and we've used one quarter, and we have $1.25. We need to make it all the way up to $1.45. So right now, we are 20 cents short. Right? Because $1.45 is 20 cents more than $1.25. So how are we going to make up those 20 cents? The easiest way to do so would be to use dimes. Okay? Each dime is worth 10 cents. So if I was to add 2 dimes, I get 20 cents. So double checking that this is all correct, we're going to see how much money we just gave to the cashier. A loonie is $1 plus a quarter. Let me write this out as I'm saying it. A loonie is $1 plus a quarter gives me $1.25 plus a dime gives me $1.35, and plus another dime gives me $1.45. So I gave the cashier exactly $1.45, which means they don't have to worry about giving me any change back. Because I paid them the exact amount, I get no change. This can be a little bit tricky at first, but it's an important skill, so make sure that you're practicing now and make sure that you're practicing with the homework. Let's do another one together. A box of crackers costs $2.60. Sorry. Using our money, we need to see if we can make this exact amount. Otherwise, we'll need change back, which is fine, but a little inconvenient. So the first thing that I think is I would like to use my toonie. $2.60. My toonie makes up, let's use a different color here so it's easy to see. My toonie makes up those $2. So all I need left would be the 60 cents. Well, in order to get to 60 cents, I might consider using some of my smaller coins. Right? Let's start with the quarters. 1 quarter is 25 cents. 2 quarters is 50 cents. Let's throw that in there. 2 quarters gives me 50 cents. So right now we're at $2.50. All I need left is 10 cents in order to go from 250 to 260. So I'm going to try adding 1 dime to get the extra 10 cents. Perfect. Let's check our work. We started with $2 and we added 1 quarter, which brought us to 250. That's not true at all. We added 1 quarter, which brought us to 225. We added another quarter, which brought us to 250. And then we added a dime, which brought us to $2.60. So the total amount that we gave the cashier, $2.60, is just enough that we need no change, because that is exactly as much as the box of crackers cost. Now, the final question asks us to buy a loaf of bread. Now, here's the thing. We can spend a long time trying to figure out exactly how to pay for a loaf of bread given the coins that are in the pocket. But it's actually impossible to make exactly 90 cents given the limited amount of change we have. We can give more money than it costs, but we can't give the exact amount. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to settle, and instead of the exact amount, we're just going to give 1 loonie, which is exactly $1. I'm going to write that in both of these boxes. Now, If we give the cashier $1, they owe us change. We gave them too much money. And in order to calculate that change in your head using a calculator off to the side, you need to subtract $1 from 90 cents. Now we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but for now you can just use a calculator to subtract $1 from 90 cents to give us the change of 10 cents. Okay, so our change is 10 cents or a dime. Now again, this can be quite tricky to do on your own. So make sure that you're spending time working on the next page, which is the worksheet for extra practice. Make sure that you're letting me know if you have any questions. And also remember that we do have a tray of coins in the classroom if you need something hands-on to help you think about what you need. Thank you.